So the new chapter just hit the PTB, and I'm just going to give my thoughts on it because I feel like this needs to be done. First of all, this night gameplay in the background is actually me bragging hints on Aaron's duo escape streak. They were only in like 9 escapes or something, and this was a few weeks ago, but still pretty good. And just another quick thought on Knight. Knight is really strong. He's not the most fun to play or to play against, but he is an A tier killer, like without a doubt. And anyone who says Knight is strong, just like I noticed that everyone who says Knight is weak, do not play Knight. Like they just don't play. And they're like, oh, I played like 3 games a Knight when he came out. He's so boring. Knight's a D tier killer, man. He's so unfun to play and so boring and so bad. But everyone who actually still plays a lot of Knight all say he's strong. So I'm telling you right now, Knight is really strong. But that aside, the new killer, the new chapter. Oh my god, this has to be like the worst chapter I've ever seen in my life. Binding of Kin was better than this, and let me tell you why. So we get some teasers a few weeks ago, or about a week ago, for the chapter. Chapter name, Tools of Torment. What's the teaser? You hear some drilling in the background. We see a skull. It's got mechanical parts all around it. So people start speculating mechanical killer, robot killer, cyborg killer, but what's going to be, a lot of us kind of caught the whole, immediately when I first saw those skulls, I was like, oh, they're going to be like surveillance cameras. I thought, they were going to be little makeshift cameras. Maybe the killer could use them to track survivors and then maybe had some sort of ranged ability that could be used to capitalize on that information, something like that. But there's just infinite possibilities when it comes to mechanical killers. We all thought it was going to be from the future as well, because it has already been said that in the lore, like the entity can take anyone from any time, any time frame. We've gotten killers from thousands of years in the past, but we've never got a killer from the future. So it would have been cool to, actually try that. But what we got when we actually went onto the PTB is some girl with a diamond mask and not even a mechanical weapon. I was about to say mechanical weapon. It's literally just a predator gauntlet, but the knives can't retract, and it's attached to like a metal rod on her arm. But the weapon doesn't do anything. It's not even mechanical, because it doesn't like retract, and it's not like it gives her like extra like leverage or strength or anything. It's not like a mechanical arm. It just looks like, oh yeah, by the way, my controller's run out of batteries in this clip. But the whole design of the killer is so shit, and it's nothing what we were expecting, because we were expecting either a literal robot for a killer, or some amalgamation of just steel and flesh, or a cyborg. And this killer isn't any of that. She's not cybernetic at all, which is just so disappointing. And not just that, her design is just awful. She is literally, honestly, she looks like just a survivor that they had at work, and they decided we need to make a killer. They took the survivor, they put half a mask on her, they put a weird little predator gauntlet on her, and then they just said, all right, that's the new killer. They slapped on. She is so. I thought Trickster was bad, but at least Trickster made sense. This killer doesn't make sense at all. So I've explained her look. Her name is the Skull Merchant, which, okay. Her power is drones. She sends out drones with skulls on them, like human skulls. Like, where's the consistency? Like, there's no consistency with this killer. At least to Trickster, okay. Trickster looks the way he does because he's a K-pop star. Trickster throws his little blades as his power because that's what he always did as his little stage gimmick. His name's the Trickster because that was his stage name. And he killed because he, liked the fame and all that, and when his bandmates died. Like, there's, at least with Trickster, even though I wasn't a big fan of his design, there was consistency and it made sense, and there was reasons for his design. Like, with this girl, there is zero consistency, and the reasons are just, they're so shit. Like, oh, her name's Skull Merchant because her dad's books had a character called Skull Merchant, and she took the name. Like, what? That's so shit. And then we actually get to the content of the chapter, so that's just aesthetically, we already off the bat is just dog shit. And then we actually get into the chapter. The killer's power is awful. It's so shit. She places drones, which you can track survivors with when they're within range of the drone, which is like, it seems to be about maybe 12 meters, 12-meter radius, obviously each side. No, maybe not even actually, it's maybe like 10 meters because that would be like a 20-meter radius for the full circle. But it is really useless because all it does is you just track the survivors, which by the way, you have to pull up your wee phone. So you don't even get like, it's kind of like Demogorgon. We have to charge your power to see people near portals. This girl has to pull out her wee device to actually see people near the drones. And when the survivors are in the radius of the drone, for 10 seconds, they become exposed for like 30 seconds. And that's literally it. That's all the drones do. The drones, like, the effect of the drones, this is one of the biggest problems I have. The effect of her drones, her entire power, can be achieved with some perks. You want to expose survivors. Starstruck is probably going to do better than her power at actually getting insta-downs. You want to track survivors. There's tracking perks are going to give you better tracking than her power. Because, something like Thrilling Tremors is going to tell you what gens people are on. Nowhere to Hide is going to give you information on people that are near generators and shit. But her power, you have to set up drones, which means you have to have already been at a place first to get the information. And then you have to pull out your wee thing, your wee drone camera, whatever the hell it is, to see people near it. And then, you get and that's your power. That's literally her power. I'm struggling to see the uses for it. You want to play a killer that gets information, play Legion or Doctor. They're far better at getting information on survivors. You want to play a killer that exposes people, play Myers or Ghostface. They both do it better. You want to play a killer that gets undetectable, play Myers or Ghostface. They do it better than her. You want to play a killer that, zones out loops and does shit like that. Play Artist or Knight. They're way better at it. So this killer not just has such an identity crisis in terms of design, but an identity crisis in terms of power, because her power doesn't do anything. It does nothing. And that's just so, like, infuriating because it's such a waste. It's such a waste of a concept. Now, I definitely had the feeling, the first thing I saw was like, oh, she's got Predator's weapon. And then I saw the reworked Red Forest, and I was like, that kind of looks like, a Predator map. It's like really, dense jungle. And then I saw the Mori, and I'm like, why is the survivor acting so oblivious to the killer standing right behind them? And then she stabs them through the back and lifts them up off their feet. And I'm like, oh, this is just a scrapped Predator chapter. There's no other explanation. So let me just go into it. First of all, it explains, if this was a scrap Predator chapter, like the license fell through like last minute, let's say they were developing a Predator chapter a month ago, right? And they just got news like, hey, no more Predator, you can't put him in the game. I think they just scrambled to just salvage this chapter and turn it into something else, which explains the shite design for the killer, the really poor, uninspired, just girl with mask. It explains the Mori being so bad and unfitting for the killer. It explains the power being so simple and just like not thought out at all. It explains the chase music being so shit, which none of these things usually are. It's why it's so odd to me, because usually the design of killers and their music and their chase music is always really good. Look at even Knight. A lot of people don't like Knight, but most of them do agree that he's at least cool looking, and he's got a cool looking power, and he's got cool effects. This killer just has none of that. Even her drones don't even move. What's the point? Why would they make a killer that uses drones and the drones just sit in place? You might as well have just made security cameras or something like that. It just doesn't make sense to me. It has to be like some sort of problem with a Predator license because everything just adds up too well. I don't know what they can do to salvage this killer as well because, like I said, the power is basically useless. The drones don't. The drones are so, even aesthetically, the drones don't fit her. And the drones have no like cool effects, no sound effects. They don't move. They don't do anything. And it's just so bad. I can't express how like just disappointing this whole chapter is in every regard. There's not a redeemable part. Her perks are ass. The survivor's perks are so all over the place. Some of the survivor perks are just kind of shit. Some of the survivor perks are already in the game. Like there's literally blood pact, but like it's just not your obsession, and you get slightly less haste. There's a survivor perk which lets you injure yourself and get a double sprint burst, which is just overpowered as shit. There's a survivor perk where you get a 6 second sprint burst when you unhook someone else, which is pretty good, but also encourages the killer to just tunnel the other guy off the hook. So, like, I just don't get it. There's just so many wrong things. I don't see anything redeemable about this chapter at all. There's nothing redeemable. And basically the whole community seems to share the idea. No one likes it. No one likes anything about this chapter. I haven't heard one person say, I love the killer part. It's so good. It's so interesting and fun. I haven't heard one person say, oh, the killer's design is so good, except for the odd person on Twitter. But which, I mean, the design they're making it for the wrong people. I'll say that anyway. But I honestly, this chapter is just irredeemable because I think they cooked it up in a matter of weeks. And weeks is being generous because they could have made this killer design in like a day, and they could have made the power in like a couple of days. Hence why the drones are so static. They don't move. They have literally no animations. Like, it's so bad. I just can't get over it. But I don't know what the hell's going to be done with this chapter. I think best case scenario, Behavior just put out a statement and say, yeah, we hear all your stuff about the chapter. Yeah, there was some behind the scenes problems. We're just going to either scrap it or we're going to delay this chapter until the next mid chapter and just make so many improvements. I would love to see that because for this chapter to be released like this would be a complete waste of time. No one's going to pay actual money for the killer. I might pick up with shards like I always do, but I'm not going to play this killer because it's pointless. And I'm not going to enjoy the whole aesthetic of this chapter. No one's going to because it's so boring and uninspired. And I think just the sheer disappointment of our expectations for this chapter because everyone was really excited. You know, we're going to finally get our technological killer, just infinite possibilities when it comes to technology. But no. So I think best case scenario for literally everyone, like Behavior included, I think they just delay this chapter. I would love to see that because it is so irredeemable and shit. I just cannot get over it. But yeah, I think I might leave it there because there's really nothing to say. I'm just kind of going around in circles. I think everyone knows at this point just how bad every aspect of this chapter is, how rushed it all seems. So, on an L chapter, to be honest, the Knight was a bit of an L. I think after he got his buffs, he's definitely he's strong. I'll say that Knight is very strong. That is something that you can't take away from him. You can say he's boring to play. You can say he's boring to play against. You can say he promotes like kind of the same play styles and shit like that. Sure, go ahead say that. But I think if you're gonna say he's weak, that's just he's far from it. Far from it. He's far better than the majority of killers. He can even against good survivors. Like you could be a really good survivor, but against a good Knight, there's basically nothing you can do except Hints. You can see Hints is absolutely frying my shit here in the background. But that's because this was a few weeks ago. I wasn't as good as Knight, or I wasn't as good at Knight, and also it's just Hints. He's like by far the best player I've ever played against. Aaron wasn't even that good, to be honest. I expected a lot more from him. Hints actually had to save his ass multiple times during chase with body blocks and shit, and he still ended up dying pretty fast. He also complained quite a lot after the game about Knight, and said some pretty weird shit, and complaining about the devs and shit like that. Kind of weird. He was probably just a bit mad that his streak got broke, but a bit unsportsmanlike. But I don't know what's going to happen because for even though I kind of enjoyed the Knight, I think for the majority of people, the past two chapters have been absolute flops, which this is going to be really bad for the game. The game's definitely going to take a hit. You can't release two chapters in which the majority of the player base dislikes in a row. I think we saw that with Binding of Kin and All Kill. That's going to happen. It's funny enough, actually, the December and March releases were both, Forged in Fog, and then now this, and then it was Binding of Kin and All Kill. Just cursed releases, it seems to be. But yeah, the game's definitely going to take a hit because of this. I'm kind of enjoying Debadele at the minute, so luckily I'm not in desperate need of a new chapter, but I know a lot of people are, and this is just not it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I know I literally never upload anymore, but I've just been real busy.